Let us look into the provisions of the Civil Procedure Code which deals with the stay of execution. Order 21, Rule 26 speaks about when the court may stay execution. Let us look into the provisions. The executing court shall, upon sufficient cause being shown to the court and after the judgment debtor furnishes security or fulfills the conditions which are imposed upon him by the court may stay execution of a decree for a reasonable time. And the purpose is to enable the judgment debtor to apply to the court which has passed the decree or to apply to the appellate court for an order to stay the execution. So, the purpose of Rule 26 is that the executing court has a power to stay the execution in order to enable the judgment debtor to apply to that court which has passed the decree or to the appellate court to get an order, and pending that application when he files to stay execution, this court, that is the executing court, has the power to stay the execution. So, this is Rule 26. Now, Rule 26 sub Rule 2 says that where the property has already been seized under an execution proceeding, the property or the person, that is the judgment debtor, has been detained or the proceeding has been taken against him, then if they are already seized under that execution proceeding, then the court which has issued the execution on this application may order that this property which was seized should be returned, or the restitution of this property should be done, or the person who has been arrested should be discharged pending the result of the application. So, when a person files a application before the court to stay, just to enable him to get the stay of execution from the proper court, then the executing court has this power under Rule 26. Here sub Rule 3 says that this court, before making an order to stay execution, it has a power to require for security from the judgment debtor, or it before making an order to stay the execution or for a restitution of the property or for discharge of the judgment debtor, the court shall require security, or it can also impose conditions upon the judgment debtor as it thinks fit, so that it may not frustrate the execution proceedings. Now, what is this power of the court, of the transferee court vis-a-vis the transferor court? We know that a court which has passed a decree can transfer the decree to another court for execution. Now, whether that court also has a power? Here, looking at the Rule 26, we can see that the transferor court has a power to grant absolute stay. Therefore, pending that application, the person can file an application before the executing court. That means, the transferor court's powers and the transferee's court's powers are different. The transferee court can stay the execution for a reasonable time, and it can only be to enable the judgment debtor to apply to the transferor court or to the appellate court for the granting of the stay of execution, and this can be done on the application of the judgment debtor. So, in Shaukat Hussain versus Bhuvaneshwari Devi, that is a Supreme Court decision where the court has gone into the power of the court to grant stay. Whether the transferee court also has the power to grant a stay, absolute stay. This was discussed in this particular case. In this case, there was a decree by the court of small causes, and it was transferred for execution to the Munsif court, and the Munsif court granted a stay. The Munsif court was not a court which has passed the decree, and therefore, when it went in appeal to the High Court said that the court having no jurisdiction, that stay is null and void, and by that time when the stay was granted, the proceeding for the sale of the property was already executed, and the property was sold after due proclamation. So, the person applies to the court saying that the sale is null and void. So, this court went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court upheld the order of the High Court saying that the transferee court does not have a complete power to grant the stay of execution. It is only for the purpose of enabling the judgment debtor to apply to the transferor court, because the court which passed the decree only has a power to stay on the grounds of this particular reason. Now, Rule 27 says that no order of restitution or discharge of the judgment debtor under Rule 26 can be made which can prevent the property or person of a judgment debtor to be once again taken in execution of the decree. That means, this is only a temporary phase. Even though the court stays and discharges the judgment debtor, and it also makes an order for restitution, later on it can once again start the execution proceedings. So, this is the meaning of Rule 27. Rule 28 says that the order of the court by which the decree was passed is binding upon the transferee court. So, any order which the court which has passed the decree makes, or an order of an appellate court relating to the execution of the decree, will be binding on the transferee court to which the decree was sent for execution. This is Rule 28. Now, coming to Rule 29, this is another power of a stay of execution where there is a suit pending before that same court. There is a difference between Rule 26 and Rule 29. In Rule 29, there should be two suits. So, pending suit, what is the meaning of this? Where a suit by the judgment debtor is pending in a court against the decree holder, such court, the words are important, such court may, on the judgment debtor furnishing security or otherwise as it thinks fit, stay the execution of the decree until the disposal of that pending suit before the court. The object of this rule is to enable the judgment debtor and the decree holder to adjust their claims against each other and to prevent multiplicity of execution proceedings. This was stated in Anup Chand versus Hirachand. In this case, there was a decree for sale of mortgage property, and this decree was assigned to another person, that is Anup Chand. Now, when it came for execution, the assignee filed an application for stay of the execution on the ground that the decree was fraudulent. Now, here the court says that whether the assignee has a power to file an application, number one, and whether the court has a power to grant the stay. Here, the object of Rule 29 was specified by the court, that was the Rajasthan High Court, where the judgment debtor's claims and the decree holder's claim, the claims of both the judgment debtor and the decree holder in the same court by two different suits, that is, one is the decree which has been passed against him, and the judgment debtor files another case against the decree holder which is pending. So, if there are different claims or there are some claims which may come up later, the execution proceedings after they have been executed, then it may create a situation where there are multiplicity of execution proceedings against each other. So, to stop this or to enable them to adjust their claims, object is that the judgment debtor and the decree holder should be able to adjust their claims against each other. Now, what are the conditions which has to be fulfilled under Rule 29? Basic thing is that there should be two simultaneous proceedings in one and the same court. Secondly, which are these two simultaneous proceedings? One proceeding in execution of a decree at the instance of the decree holder against the judgment debtor. So, there is a decree and the decree holder has filed a proceeding for execution. And in the same court, a suit is pending at the instance of the judgment debtor who has filed a suit against the decree holder. So, in Shaukat Hussain versus Bhuvaneshwari Devi, this has been clearly stated that these conditions should be fulfilled. That means, there should be two simultaneous proceedings, it should be in one and the same court, and there should be one execution proceeding and also a suit. There the court has a power to look into this matter and grant a stay of execution. Now, Rule 29 is not an absolute power, it is a discretionary power. So, how this discretionary power has to be exercised? Here it has to be exercised in such a manner as was stated in Anup Chand case, when an assignee files for a stay of execution. The court says that judgment debtor should not be harassed, that is one thing. Secondly, if the judgment debtor has a substantial claim against the decree holder, that should be addressed, and that court, when it is executing the decree, should look into the claim which is pending for the decision of the court, and then it should execute the decree. So, what is the consideration while exercising discretionary power by the court? Rule 29 says that basically the decree which is passed by a competent court should be allowed to be executed, and unless there is a strong case which is made out on cogent grounds, stay should not be granted. Otherwise, any person may file a frivolous case in the same court and try to frustrate the execution proceedings. So, here there are these two cases, Qazi Tawfiqur Rahman versus Noor Banu Bibi, in which case it was a High Court of Guwahati decision where an ex parte decree was granted against Noor Banu Bibi to the decree holder, that is Qazi Tawfiqur Rahman, for eviction of a tenancy. And after lot of delaying tactics, it was 2 times it was reinstituted and the decree was set aside, and again it was granted ex parte. Later on, she files another case, another suit in the same court, saying that this decree which has been obtained by Rahman is fraudulent, is illegal, and it should be set aside. So, now she files a application for stay of execution, saying that there is a suit pending. In this case, the court says that just because there is a suit pending, now what was the ground of that? The attitude or the behavior and of the person who files the application should be noted by the court. First of all, when she was not present at the first instance when the suit was decreed. Second time, when it was decreed, she files another suit to set aside that, saying that it is fraudulent, and there also there were delaying tactics. So, that shows that it is only to abuse the process of the law that this stay application has been filed, and therefore, the stay was not granted. In Yudhishthir Jaina versus Surendra Mohanty, there was a case before the Orissa High Court for the declaration of a title and possession of a mortgage. A case was filed, there was a mortgage suit, and the person who has executed the mortgage, he dies, and later his widow and his son file a case, and then they want to set aside the execution proceedings, which was already, it was decreed. The executing proceedings were to be stayed by an application by these people, and they also file a suit, separate suit, on the ground that that particular decree was void and illegal, and it was fraudulent, because the person who had executed the mortgage, he was not aware of what he was doing. He was under the influence of drugs when he executed that. So, to prove that, it would take a long and very strong evidence on the part of the plaintiff to prove the suit. So, the court said that on that ground, just keeping the execution proceeding pending does not solve the problem, and it cannot be granted. The court should look into the matter that a decree which is passed by a competent court should be allowed to be executed. Unless there is a strong case which is made out, there should be a substantial claim against that person which may be able to stay the execution of the decree. Unless that is there, the discretionary power should not be granted or should not be exercised by the court which is executing the decree. So, Rule 29 speaks about the power of the court to exercise its discretionary power and stay the case or stay the execution pending the another suit. Now, there is an amendment in 1976 which has been brought several changes to these provisions. First of all, earlier the jurisdiction to stay execution was only in the court which passed the decree, but now after the amendment, the executing court also is competent to stay not only the decree passed by it, but also a decree which is transferred to it for execution. So, the court which is a transferee court also can stay the execution proceedings, and also the court which has passed the decree can stay the execution proceedings. So, there is a proviso added by the Amendment Act of 1976 that if a decree is one for payment of money, then the court has to require security. If it grants stay without requiring security, then the court has to record its reasons for doing so. So, that has made it more strong. The provision has been added to see that the payment of money decree is not frustrated by leaving the person without security. So, when we summarize these provisions, we can see that this power of stay of execution in the execution proceedings enable the judgment debtor to pursue any substantial claim that he may have against the decree holder pending in the same court, and the discretion must be exercised by the court on cogent grounds. There is a difference between Rule 26 and Rule 29. 26 speaks about the power to stay the decree, stay the execution of the decree only on the ground that he has applied to an appellate court or to the court which has passed the decree for obtaining a stay, and for that a reasonable time can be given. But Rule 29 gives a power to stay the proceedings, execution proceedings, on the ground that there is a pending suit before the same court between these two, judgment debtor and the decree holder, against each other, which should be decided, and pending that decree or pending that suit, the decree passed in another suit can be stayed by that same court. I hope you have learned something from this video. If you have liked it, please share it with anyone who you think would be interested. Please leave your comments and I would be happy to reply to them. Do subscribe to get more information on everyday law and legal studies. Thank you.